For aesthetics, a C.
How a C?
Yeah.
How?
So
let's hear the argument. Coach Greg, and I'm here with Eric Janicki. I said his name right. We're going over the best exercises to do for your body parts. We're giving them A, B, C, D, or F ratings. And so stay tuned. We are going to have different opinions. Am I right? Is he right? We'll let you decide. You ready?
Let's do this.
Let's get started.
All right, starting with our first exercise, we are talking barbell deadlifts for building your back. Very divisive topic. Greg, you want me to go first? You want to go?
I'm going to go first because I'm biased. I love the deadlift. I love it. Conventional, sumo, they're both great. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Personally, I'm going to give it a B rating just because it is very taxing on the body. It's hard to really train the deadlift as often as you want, but it's something that's so fun for me. It makes me want to go to the gym. And so I've done the deadlifts for years. And the reason I'm giving it a B is because it's so hard and you can get injured. I can't give it an A rating. There's other exercises.
I'm giving this one an F rating, guys. Super surprising, I know. F rating for the deadlift. I know you're getting a lot of hate for this, but let me explain why. I have my reasons. So number one, we are looking for hypertrophy, the maximum amount of stimulus in a hypertrophy for the muscle groups we're targeting. So for back, arguably, we're talking like mid back, lower back, intraspinatus, things like that for back growth. I think that in terms of risk reward ratio, as relation to that stimuli, it's just so high. You are always going to be trying to shoot for that higher number, which inevitably is strength is not going to be equivalent to hypertrophy. And a lot of times deadlifts are not done in sets of 10, 15, 20. They're done in sets of 3, 5, 1. So for that reason, number one. Number two, if we're talking about isolation for the back, I think there are much better exercises with much lower risk factor that are going to target those same muscle groups. Let's say lower lats, lower back. You've got even a barbell bent over row, I think is going to be a better exercise for you at lower weights to target those same muscle groups. Number three is longevity. So when you are deadlifting heavy weights, it's a lot of tax. There's a high injury risk, but also the wear and tear on your body over time. You might not get hurt when you're 21, 22, 25. But Greg, tell me, have you had any deadlifting injuries or nagging things from doing deadlifts?
Training as hard as I did, I've definitely hurt my lower back a number of times. I'm always pushing to failure, trying to train harder than last time. And so it is very challenging on the body. Now, when I did my deadlifts compared to most powerlifters, they usually do, as you said, 1, 3, 5. I'm doing 10, 20, 30, training for Guinness records, doing high reps. So my time under tension is a lot higher, but I loved it that much that I wanted to do it. And if you had to take the deadlift away from me, I wouldn't have wanted to train as much. And notice now I haven't been deadlifting for about 4 years and I don't like lifting as much as I used to. That's why I'm racing bikes. And so it's really important that if you like an exercise, you do it. And if you don't like it, then really there's always going to be another alternative.
Absolutely. So if you guys love the deadlift, hit your deadlifts. Just make sure you're doing it safely. You're really focusing on your form and you're not just chasing weight. And if your goal is hypertrophy, maybe start to creep up into those rep ranges that are going to induce more time under tension than, say, a 1 rep max or 3 or 5. That's going to help you a lot more with strength than hypertrophy. Exercise number 2 for building your back, the lat pull down.
I give it an A.
Yeah.
A lat pull down is a great exercise. And I would have said the chins or like chin ups or pull ups given an A, but not many people can do a pull up, especially for that many reps. So with the lat pull down, you can lighten the weight, put the weight that you want, use strict control. And so I think it's a great exercise. For me, it's a must.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to give the lat pull down definitely an A-. I think that it's an amazing exercise. I think that you are going to get so much stimulation into the correct areas, especially when done correctly, pulling the shoulders back, retracting the scaps, getting a good negative, and the risk is so low. Like, not many times you hear somebody say, like, I hurt myself doing a lat pull down. Sure, you can get crazy with your form. You can start swinging. Just really focus on getting that really good scapular retraction. Focus on that mind-muscle connection. This isn't a tremendous exercise. You can do so many different variants. You can go supinated, Here you can get more lower lat engagement. You're pronated, get more mid to upper back. So it is a very, very good for exercise for building out that X frame. So we're talking aesthetics. If you can build out your lats and build out your mid lats, lower lats using different pull down variants, it's a really good way to create that aesthetic physique without having to put much tax on the hip, like a hip hinge movement would. Barbell bent over row.
I'm going to give it a B, but I almost put it as a C only because of the strain it puts on the lower back. And I'm biased because I had L4, L5 herniated disc. And when I did bent rows, I've injured my back a number of times, even with lighter weights. And so for me, it's a more of a risky exercise. It's something that does place a lot of strain on the lower back, but I do like it. But I personally don't do this exercise because it often gets me injured.
Yeah, so I'm going to give the barbell bent over row a C+. And the reason is I think that it can create a lot of stimuli for your mid back, lower lats, especially if you supinate that grip. It can be really good. I would elevate this exercise to a B if we do it in a deficit with lighter weights. So step up on a box, get closer to almost touching the tops of your shoes, reduce the weight by 50%. You're going to get just as much hypertrophy by increasing the range of motion, increasing the time under tension, and getting that stretch mediated hypertrophy at the bottom of the rep, as if you were going to go heavier using, let's say, 225, 315, even 375 without that deficit. So I'm going to say C+, normally, because it has a really good stimuli. I think it's better than a deadlift because you're not going quite as heavy, and then closer to a B to B+ at a deficit. Next, let's go plate loaded rowing machine. So we're talking like hammer strength, low row, mid back row, even like a hammer strength lat pull down. What do you grade that type of exercise?
I'm going to give it an A. I love these exercises because of the plate loading and having the ability to put my chest on the pad to prevent me from using the lower back. To me, it's a step up from doing a bent row. You can adjust the weights. You can really squeeze. You can use one arm at a time, sometimes two arms at the same time. So I think it's a great exercise. Any of them, pick the one that you like, use the different kinds, just go for it.
Yeah, I think plate loaded pulling movements, hammer strength, from different vectors of force. Also worth mentioning is these handles are designed ergonomically to target correctly. So a lot of them have different hand placement. You can be neutral, you can go supination, get more of that lower lat. You can go high to low. And also, if we're going to be talking about, let's say, the mechanics, the physics of these type of machines, it allows you to get a lot of more weight on the stretch and the reps. So you get more of that stretch mediated hypertrophy. And then when you come down to that peak contraction, a lot of times the weight gets a little less based on that hinge and the physics of those machines. So you actually can get a really good peak contraction and then benefit from that additional weight on the stretch just based on how these machines are set up. So I think extremely high stimuli, hypertrophic effect, and very low risk factor. I'm going to give that an A+.
Nice. A+.
And let's finish out these back exercises with dumbbell bent over row.
Dumbbell bent over row. I'm going to give it a C.
Oh.
Going to give it a C. I don't like training one arm at a time in general. I find the movement a lot. When I watch people do them, I often find they're doing it wrong. They're kind of going straight up and down as opposed to getting that stretch at the top. I think it's a harder exercise to learn. And I just much prefer the plate loaded. So if I have a choice, I'm going to use the plate loaded. I don't want to twist my lower back on the descent of the bar. So for me, I don't like them.
Oh, I'm going to give dumbbell bent over rows an A-. And for the exact opposite reason that Coach Greg gave it a C, I think isolateral single arm back movements are extremely efficacious because it allows you to move ergonomically with the pattern. So like if I'm doing a single arm, I can actually reach and get that extra stretch and then dig up, pull that shoulder back and almost rotate away and get that extra lat engagement, scapular retraction. So I'm going to say that the single arm movements for me are even lower risk too, because instead of let's say you can get a really good bent over row with 80 pounds, right? You might be bent over rowing 225 with a barbell row. So I think that it allows for lesser weight, more mind muscle connection with the side. And also if you have any imbalances, it's going to help you to rectify those. So if you are stronger in one hand than the other pulling, by doing these isolateral movement patterns, it's going to help to correct those imbalances over time.
Now, when you're doing them, do you start with the weaker arm first? Like if your left arm is stronger, do you start with the right arm? Because by the time you're done that first arm, you're getting a bit gassed. Your heart might be up at 120, 130. Then you get to the next side, you're a little bit tired. So is that how you control that? Or do you switch back and forth each day?
I think the better way to do these is right arm rest, left arm rest. A lot of people will do their dumbbell bent over rows, go right then left, or conversely left then right into that other side. I think why wouldn't you treat it as its own set, right? You're doing that arm. So instead of doing both sides and then taking, let's say, a 2-minute rest, do one side, do a 60-second rest, do the other side, do a 60-second rest. You're not doing any difference in terms of the rest time, but you're allowing your CNS to recover, you get your lungs back under you, and then you can do the other side. So you're not detracting from that other arm because you're gassed from the first one.
I really like that. I've never tried that. So think of the right lat as its own muscle and the left lat its own muscle, and then take a break between each side. That makes sense.
Well, actually, I want to add one because we talked about it, but it's definitely a divisive one. Pull-ups. What would you rate pull-ups for aesthetics?
I'm going to say it's a B. It's a B because not everyone can do a pull-up. But if you can do it and it's the right difficulty level for you, then it's great. I can't see giving it below a B. It could even be an A for some people. I'm
going to give the pull-up for aesthetics a C.
How a C?
Yeah.
How?
So
let's hear the argument.
I want to break this down.
Okay.
For me, the most important part of any exercise is the eccentric. When you are talking about a pull-up, when you're here, your shoulder and joint is actually, with that much weight, is actually in a pretty disadvantageous position because the elbows are forward. You're putting a lot of impetus on that front delt. So when you are here and you are trying to hold that, you get a hold and eccentric, not many people have that strength through their medial delt, through their front delt to hold on to that exercise. And it also can be very taxing and cause injury, especially when you try to do these things weighted. So I think that a better exercise is the converse, is a pull down where you can control that, get a slow on that eccentric, and you can control the weight more. With pull-ups, like the weight is your body, right?
Yeah, so, I think I'm biased towards the people I see in the gym doing them are all the stronger people. But if you think about the average person, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
The average person can't do it.
I think the average person is probably not doing it correctly and probably not doing it in a way that's going to be efficacious for bodybuilding and building muscle. Because sure, you can swing yourself
They're just getting their bodies up no matter what they want to get.
One thing you will see is actually a lot of CrossFit athletes, they can do a lot of kipping pull-ups, but there's not a lot, most of the time with CrossFit athletes, there's not a tremendous amount of lat development. And the reason for that is because they're not using their lats a lot for their pull-ups, because the way they kip, sure, they're going to get it in that stretch position, but then after that, it's almost here. You're basically almost like a mid-back row when you're doing those kipping pull-ups. So my argument is I would rather see you using either a plate-loaded pull-down, cable pull-down, in order to really control that weight, get that better eccentric, or conversely, you could use some sort of weight-assisted pull up in order to get that negative, because most people, including myself, let's say right now at like 275 pounds,
it's a lot of weight to pull up.
It's a lot of weight to pull up. It's a lot of stress on the shoulders, and it's really hard to get a lot of like really quality negatives where I'm really thinking, oh, I can really feel that in my lats.
Yeah, I can only get 10, 15 tops on a good day, and I'm pretty strong, and I can only do 10 to 15. So for the average person, it's a lot of reps to get. You know, most people can't even do one.
Yeah. So now add a 6-second negative. How many pull-ups do you think you could do?
Less than 10.
Yeah, less than 10. He's like, I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Hope you learned something. And don't forget, please go subscribe to Eric Janicki. You can follow him on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. He's hilarious, highly intelligent. Look at the size of this guy. So please go and check him out. Got to get him over 1 million followers. Check it out. Subscribe right now.